When I first heard about AI music, I had the same thought as everybody else. It's taken copyrighted material and basically sampled it and then created new music without paying the original artists. But nothing could be further from the truth. What it actually does is what every musician and songwriter and producer does. It listens to music, it learns from it, and then it emulates it. Every single songwriter has done that since the dawn of time. There's no true original artist. Everybody's inspired by the last guy that they liked. The only really big difference is that it's extremely good at it. A musician has to learn his craft by learning music theory, or not. In my case, I just learned by ear. And you have to learn how to play an instrument, keyboard, drums, guitar, bass, and you have to learn how to sing if you want to be a singer. Well, what AI like Suno does is it's learned to sing from all of its favorite musicians, if you will, just like the rest of us. But it's really good at it. It's able to make a song in seconds. And as I said before, yeah, it's not nice that you can prompt it to write a song about your dog and it spits something out, or that you put a poem in and you get a song out. But those are never hits. The only way they're hits is if they game the system. Apparently, the country artist, what they did was they bought 3,000 copies of the song, and that made it shoot to #1. It wasn't an organic hit. It was gaming the system. When I take a song that I've recorded in my studio, when I upload my song to Suno, it listens to it. Then it puts its producer hat on and develops a vision for the song. Then it puts its musician hats on. It does guitar, bass, drums, and vocals. There's a big complaint about it sounding soulless. I disagree. I think the most recent iteration is so indistinguishable from what you would get from a Hollywood studio. I think it actually scares people. I don't think people are upset because AI is garbage. They're upset because AI is too good. This is the death of the pro studio. This is the death of the producer. This is the death of the session musician. They're no longer relevant. I'm able to upload a song and tell it what I want it to do with that song. I can tell it what style of drums, what style of guitar. Are the guitars palm muted? Are they open? Is it gritty? Is it clean? And it essentially does what I ask it. Not every time. Sometimes it takes a bit of convincing it to get it where I want it. But on the song Automatic that's out now on my Bandcamp, brodyhay.bandcamp.com. It took what I wrote on a guitar and vocals and produced it to the level that a Hollywood producer would take it. And I mean, if you listen to it and you disagree, tell me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a bit delusional on this. I'm willing to be educated on this, but I don't think I am. I think AI is here to stay. You know, the record labels always abused artists. There's no good record label that I'm aware of, no major one. But they abuse the artist, and now the streaming services are doing it. So we have two options. Either people like me quit making music. I don't see that happening. I would just make music and it wouldn't sound very good. Or I make music the most affordable way possible, which is record a quick demo in my little home studio and put it into Suno and have it completely finished. I've noticed in the comment section here on TikTok that Timbaland seems to be a fan of this, and I can see why. This is giving us a new tool. It's no different than we went to digital, and yes, that required human effort. But then you could sing halfway decently, and Autotune would do the rest, or Melodyne, or whatever pitch correction software you use. There's a million of them out there. They all do the same thing. They take a bad vocal or an okay vocal and make it perfect. And that's what you're hearing with AI, really. You're hearing an emulated vocal that's pitch perfect. So the argument that's soulless, well, it's soulless when you use autotune too, isn't it? And I know there's a lot of purists out there who hate autotune, but the reality is there are very few Chris Cornells out there. There are very few people with a perfect voice who can sing like that. So your argument could be that you don't like that somebody who doesn't have all that talent to perform can create a hit. But why? What does it matter if a person can perform to that level? Isn't it about the song in the end? Isn't it about your connection with the music? And what does it matter if a robot sang it or a human sang it if it's written by a human? I get the argument that if it's written by AI. Yeah, I get that. I understand the frustration there. Also makes a giant pool of manure of music that is hard to wade through to get to the good stuff. But that's been a problem ever since home recording came around. Anybody can put out a song, and you've got a million distributors who are also fairly predatory, a lot of them. There's a few good ones, but most are predatory. They don't, when they say they give you 100%, they're giving you 100% of what they take off the people who collect it on their behalf, and then there's processing fees to put in your bank account. They're all a bunch of predators. They're all a bunch of snakes. I've spent the last 30 or so years in the studio at various stages of professionalism and professional gear and amateur gear. I spent a lot of time listening on speakers, on, studio speakers, monitors, and I don't think I can tell the difference most of the time when it's AI or not. Maybe if I use a stem separator, that's usually the dead giveaway. When you put it into a stem separator, it doesn't have quite the same quality as a perfect WAV file. And, you know, around the same time, we had keyboard emulators. You don't actually have to plug in a piano. You can plot your music on a grid. There are ones for guitar and bass, but they're not very good so far. I mean, I imagine with AI, it's only a matter of time until those things are absolutely perfect too. But the tools have been getting easier to use and less expensive. It used to be going into a studio, paying, you know, $800-900 a day to lock out the studio and keep it to yourself, and you'd have to pay for an engineer, and you're mixing and mastering and all that stuff. But as the tools became better in the home studio, of course all the artists went that way because they're not making any money. And now they're making pretty much no money, and AI has come along. So again, you don't have to listen to it, but artists don't have to stop using it just because you've got to be in your bonnet about it. If you genuinely want it to stop, and I don't see it happening any which way, but the only way I ever see any sort of change is if you can convince Spotify to stop paying their CEO billions and their shareholders billions and the artists nothing. I mean, it really is nothing. In the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. And the other thing you can do is go onto your favorite band's Bandcamp or their Patreon or any sort of place where you can support them and donate some money to them so they can go do studio time. Because that's really the problem here. Artists throughout history usually don't have money until they make it big, and then they don't need AI at that point, but it's still a tool that'll get used. If you keep using the streaming services, the artists on it who are getting a pittance, like I said in the last video, 0.0032005 cents per stream. That means in 1,000 streams, you make $3. And so long as that's the case, artists like me will use AI. We'll use every tool that makes it affordable for us to keep making art because we don't want to stop making art. And honestly, even if you don't like my music, you don't want me to stop making art any more than you want your favorite artist to stop making art. More art is better. And the least expensive way is not necessarily the best way, but there's no alternative. There's no fun for us to go into a studio and make a hit anymore.